All right.
Yeah.
Welcome to my confidence mini series where I want to take you with me to explore how real people unlock their authentic self assurance and sometimes as well help other people do just that too. Today, I'm having a conversation that gets to the very heart of how we express our confidence to the outside world, as I am joined by two amazing women, Deb and Nick, who are the brilliant founders behind Dressing the Woman. And before we start, I want to say this because at first glance, we might see what they do in their work being all about clothes, but it is so much more deeper than that. Deb and Nick, you have built an entire ecosystem from private coaching to corporate training, where you dedicate your work to one powerful idea: is how authentic personal style is a key to unlocking the confidence that one person will have within. You help women move beyond following some trends and into embracing their unique style, the style that is uniquely theirs and powerfully their own as well. And so today, I'm so glad to receive you both to have this conversation around confidence itself. So again, Deb and Nick, a huge welcome. It's such a pleasure to have you both here.
Thank you so much
Thank
for
you so
having us. We
much.
really appreciate it.
Thank you.
So before we start, I have a first question to you both. Is how are you like feeling today?
I'm feeling good. I can only speak for myself. I'm feeling great. It's so nice to see you again, Joelle. And I'm really honored to be on your podcast because I really think that your philosophy really aligns with ours. And I'm very excited for this conversation.
Me too. What about you, Nicole? How are you doing?
Similarly, I'm feeling great. I've had quite a busy morning already, but was really looking forward to this time with you. This is something that is really near and dear to my heart, personally, professionally, and I could talk about it forever. So I'm really happy to be in this moment with you both right now.
Thank you so much. That's so great. Confidence is, I feel, I don't know about you ladies, but that's something that a lot of people want more of, right? But yet often what I see is that we lack clarity on what does it even mean? Like, what is confidence? What does it mean in general? What it means personally? So to start with, I would love to hear from you. What, in your own words, like how could you describe what confidence is and how does it feel like to you?
Yeah, I mean, I think if you don't mind, Deb, I can jump in and then, feel free to add in your perspective. So I think, you typically hear when people say that person's confident or she's confident because she knows herself, right? But really it's, I don't know if a lot of people even know what that means. Like, what does it really mean to know yourself? And I think for me, what it means is being really connected to your values. Right. Values are kind of what is the unshakable you, but kind of goes back to that notion of essence. What do you value in life? What do you value in other people? What do you value in the world? And then knowing that and somewhat feeling like unwaverable in any situation that might challenge you on those values or maybe make you want to change those values. But it's kind of like, you know who you are and what you stand for. And so it's very easy to make a decision of how you respond or how you lean in or walk away from a certain situation. So there's a groundedness and a knowingness, and in that groundedness and knowingness, it's almost like you have no other choice to but to be you. To me, that's what confidence feels like. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. It's such a powerful description. It's often when life challenges you, then you can actually test it for yourself. Like, am I confident enough to stand for who I am? Because that's usually when you are facing who I am in that situation. Like, what's important to me? Am I gonna be easily like shakable or not? And I really love what you said about that. Just wanted to check in with Debbie if there's something you'd like to add to this.
Yeah, I completely agree for that it relates to your or it's completely connected to your values. For me, it's a feeling as well. For me, confidence is just being comfortable in your own skin. Uh, and I know that feeling because I've obviously been in stages where I wasn't confident. At this point in my life, I'm more comfortable in my skin than I've ever been. And I think being yourself in every situation and being the same at your core you are yourself in every situation is a shift I've noticed within myself. And I can only describe it as groundedness and comfort in my own skin. So, yeah.
Yeah, I think you both say that this groundedness in yourself and feeling you in your own skin. That's beautiful. And now a bit connected to the work that you do as well. I am curious to know for you, confidence is something internal, but would you say it can be reinforced as well by external things?
You can let Deb go first on this one.
I think so. In relation to what we do, if I could just go into a bit about our backgrounds. Nick and I don't come from a style or fashion background or clothing. We come from our own very different backgrounds, but we really connected on our love for personal style, obviously our love for fashion as well, and our belief in the power of it. So to answer your question, yes, we do think that your self presentation has the power to reinforce and amplify what is within. One of our mantras is let us bring out what is already within you.
Yes, I love that. Yes, so much. To me, this is the true meaning of confidence. And the beautiful thing is we might each have our unique description of it, and it's absolutely fine as long as you know that this is what confidence feels like to me, and therefore this is what I'm going to connect with. And in your case, definitely style has a big part of it, and you're embodying that so beautifully that this is also what inspires people because they would see you. Like that's the thing, what they see is what they can see first. And it's like, what is that self-assurance? What is that beautiful style? And you both have like beautiful style, and it's different because it comes from who I am within that I want to express outside. And so I'm curious about your origin story that you started to share with us. If I can ask you, if there was like a moment, like a precise, a pivotal moment, either in your personal lives or in creating Dressing the Woman itself, that helped you understand more or claim more your confidence at that deeper level.
Yeah, I can start because something comes to mind, and it always comes to mind when I get this sort of question. And I think, my background, I'm very much corporate girl. My whole career, kind of right out of university, went straight in, huge corporate environments. And, those can be very testing and trying for people as you are developing your sense of self, as you're developing your confidence. I do remember a moment I was at a big corporate back in the US, and it was time for my annual review. And so if you've been in corporate, this is the time of year that you literally have like an hour where someone's telling you all the things that you're doing wrong, all the
Yeah.
things you need to change about yourself. And it can be, quite a confronting experience. And I remember this one performance review I had, and at the time it was the chief marketing officer, and I was, quite low on the totem pole at that point. But my manager was out on extended leave, so the big boss was giving me my performance review, and he didn't really know me too much. He knew a little bit about me, but he didn't manage me every day. So he was basically delivering performance review from my manager.
Wow.
He was being kind of the mouthpiece. And as he's giving the performance review, I remember some of the feedback was literally things like, Nicole, you need to be more aggressive. You need to be more like this person. You need to, and it was kind of this laundry list of things that were just not me. Like,
Mm.
just, I'm not cutthroat. I don't, cut people off at the knees and be aggressive and be the first one to dominate a conversation. And these were all things that he was starting to read off. And then he just stopped and he said, I'm sorry. I don't agree with any of this. He's like, from what I know about you, Nicole, you are the opposite of that. And it's because of those qualities, you are valuable because of something no one else in this organization embodies. And you bring the empathy, you bring the grace, you bring the listening, and you bring a leadership style that no one else has. And he literally like, threw the performance review away and just
Wow, love that.
gave me that moment to be seen and validated that like just the essence of who I am was enough. Like literally that was the message of he said, and I remember this because I wrote it down. He's like, just be you and you will always be successful.
Mm.
And this was from like a CMO in like a Fortune 500 company, and it was defining moment in my confidence. And I would say you don't always need the validation from the external, right? I would say there's many people who, should find their confidence from just within, but it is so helpful when someone sees you, right? And so I think for me that was a huge turning point to really lean into just who I am, pull pull on the things that are my essential gifts and work those. Work my essential gifts, right? Like why spend so much energy trying to become someone else? I can grow and learn in other things that I want to, grow other aspects of myself, but I will never be that person that, I was trying to be described on my performance review. So that was a very pivotal moment for me.
Thank you. Thanks so much for sharing this story. And I'm like, bless that person.
Yeah.
And the fact that whoever was supposed to do your review was away,
Mhm.
like that was meant to be. And also, I'm thinking that the moment that people will tell you, oh, you need to be more this, and that, there's this thing within us, this is our inner compass, that would actually either hear it and be like, yes, that feels aligned. That's who I want to be. Like the person you're describing is what I really want to be. And therefore, I'm going to see what's in my power to move towards that. But in that moment, you might remember, how did that make you feel when you started to hear all those qualities that were not you? You'll be
Yes.
like, it's not me. And why should I? Is that, do you remember like the feeling in that
Yeah.
moment?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you're spot on. I really felt that of like I can never be that person that he started describing. And it felt dark. It felt like I felt lost. I felt lonely. You feel unseen. I've thought through my whole career, that term fake it till you make it.
Ah,
I totally disagree with that
yeah.
personally.
I'm the same.
Feel like there's a performance going on and it can be draining if it is not aligned with who you are. You're constantly expelling and losing and seeping all this energy all day to be this thing that you're not. And so I leaned into something just in my head, which was I understand the concept behind fake it till you make it. It's, to grow, become a different version of yourself for improving yourself. But I think for me, it was more about understand your core gifts, the things that you love to do, the things that do make you sing right inside when, people notice them or when you're using those things, and then push those aspects out of your comfort zone, right? So lean into those things even more. And that is more in that moment what I started to do. And I became more successful in my roles. I became more of a leader. I became more confident when I took that approach versus the fake it till you make it, which was I was
Yeah.
getting pretty early on in my career.
Yeah. So at that point, you were still within the same company and you pursued on that
Yeah.
position. And
Yeah.
could you describe how things have changed from the moment you're like, oh, these are my qualities, my own, and they're good enough, as opposed to maybe those that had nothing to do with you? Could you describe a little bit how things have shifted?
Yeah, so much. I mean, I moved through the world in a different way. I think literally from that moment is when I started to show up, energetically as well as physically more myself. That's when people started noticing my style and started noticing when I entered a room how it made other people feel. And there was just that alignment that happened. I think, once you find that alignment, you know what that feels like. You know what that feels like to just be moving in your own accord of who you are and where that vibration is like untethered or unobstructed, you feel the difference when you're trying to move in, in some other kind of role or shell. There's just such a difference. And so I think, like I said, it unlocked for me to be a better leader because when you are kind of attuned to who you are, move through the world that way, you become magnetic, right? People want to seek you out. They want to know what you're thinking. They want to get your advice. They want you to see them, and all those things start happening. The opportunities start to magnetize as well, right? This is a whole other podcast, but we can go into the energy
Yeah.
I totally believe in too. And it's all connected, the energy, the vibration of, your essence connected to the physical and then, the universe in which you're walking through every day. But I think that was the biggest shift for me. I just feel like, yeah, just moving through life in a more attuned way.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing. And one last question that I think the answer will be so interesting is that in that moment, you stayed in that company, probably in the role. That didn't change. What has changed is your approach to it, what you made out of your role, and especially how you moved through it. And I think that's important because I know a lot of people think that, oh, if I change, or if I access more self-confidence or whatever else they want more in their life, sometimes there's this kind of fear, oh, but how are things going to be? Like, is everything going to change? And that's sometimes what stop people to take those leaps because it's like, it's too unknown. But in your case, at that time, at least obviously now you don't work there anymore, but at that time, this was the shift. You don't need to change like everything around you. You don't even need to change your job at that time if that's not what you want. But the only thing that's changing is how you maybe not how you see yourself, because maybe you saw yourself that way, but how you accept others to see you as well, right?
Yeah. It's the one thing that's really in your control, right? In life, right? How you are, how you respond, how you show up. And there's actually something kind of freeing about that. So it is, you might lose friends, you might lose opportunities, you might lose all these things, perceive that you're losing things. But if you're losing them, they're not meant for your aligned version of you. And that's okay. Let them fall away. And then you'll see the things that are aligned for you are the things that are left. And that has happened to me since that moment. It's not like, oh, all of a sudden everything I want or think I want started coming to me. No, I had lost moments. I still have lost moments, but then when you look back on them, they weren't meant for me. They weren't meant for the aligned person that I feel. But it still is difficult, right? When you go through those moments, you get perspective afterwards. But what's the cost of staying in an authentic version of you versus moving into an authentic version of you and then just seeing what's really real and true, that's in your world and coming to you and wanting to be around you.
Absolutely. And that ties into what you were saying earlier is that having this inner, the value that you have for yourself, that you're not going to be shaken by what happens. And like you said, oh, you had moments where it wasn't easy when things happen and it was probably difficult to navigate. But when you pull back to, oh, but I know why I'm doing this is because I only want things that are aligned with me, then you can walk through anything or almost with that grace and that inner knowing that it's okay, even if that doesn't feel good right now. I know it will eventually. And it's the magnetism. Like, this is how I see it in my work as well, is to be faithful, even because you never know what's going to happen for sure. But you are open to the possibilities, knowing that if I am on my path, if I feel aligned with how I just show up in the world, good things are going to
Yeah.
happen. Things that are meant to be, they're not always like good. And that's the thing.
Right. Yeah,
Meant to happen well.
exactly.
So thank you so much. I want to go back to Debbie and we'll circle back to some of the stuff you said. Debbie, would you like to share with us as well, like your own story as well, any pivotal moments in your career or personal life?
Yeah, I'm racking my brain to think of a moment, but just hearing Nick tell her story, as I alluded to, we come from very different backgrounds, and I'm a creative through and through. I've never worked a corporate job. I've always worked for myself, and I've had very different chapters throughout my career. And when I look back, there's a lot of common threads, but one of them is self-reliance, and because it's making me slightly emotional now because I've always had to, I've never had like, colleagues around me or people to tell me you're doing a good job or not, you know?
Yeah.
I've always had to rely on my own self-belief. I'm so sorry. I didn't know this was affecting me so much.
No, and please don't be sorry. Everything's welcome here, and I so welcome that part of you as well. And this is, we all have like those most tender part of ourselves that mean that there's something so precious within ourselves that we've
Hmm.
been protecting as well. But it's always there, and it's part of how you navigate life, and it's part of, as Nico was saying, the values that I'm getting emotional as well. Those values that are so important because where you come from, the struggles that you've had are also all part of your beautiful, unique story. And I thank you so much for being willing to share that with us today.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, I think that I don't think I've ever articulated this. That's why. So thank you for asking the question. And I think that the common thread throughout my whole life and career, no matter what I've been doing, I've been a private chef, I've been a television host, I've been a theater actress. I guess that one of the common threads is storytelling. Through working with my hands and working with my body. But the other one is, yeah, like that self-reliance and really having no one but myself to build up my confidence and self-belief. And I think one of the things that I've had struggled with before is that self-belief. And you hear that a lot, you got to believe in yourself. You got to believe in yourself. That's a very difficult thing to do, especially if, you're kind of walking a path that fewer people understand,
Yeah.
or they don't quite know how to place you, or you have to really build that for yourself. Like, who am I? Because I don't have anything else to compare it to. Uh,
Especially as you're describing like the different path that you've taken earlier, whether being a chef or a TV host, those are very public job. Like you have a lot of eyes and expectations on you, and
Mhm.
you are providing something, whether it's entertainment and experience. So there's definitely this inner trust that has to be strong, but sometimes it could be very different to have that strength within your work because you know what you're doing. You probably have gone through some training and the experience makes you more skilled. But when it comes to what is really there beyond all those layers, sometimes you don't get to explore that. You don't get the chance. We don't learn this, maybe now people nowadays people learn this. I don't know. It's a very different generation. But back then, it's like this is so fundamental, but we quickly move to the skills. This is what you need to do to have a successful life. These are the skills that you need without really asking yourself like, oh, okay, but why? Why do I need this rather than something else? What matters to me? What purpose I'm here to fulfill in this life? But what we're getting a bit away from today's topic. But going back to that self-reliance, if that's available to you today to share a bit with us, how would you describe that self-reliance that you had to build for yourself?
I think it was almost like I didn't have any choice. And so I had to face that and build my sense of self through myself as opposed to through, any outside external resources. So and I think the reason why maybe I don't have a one pivotal moment or one
Mhm.
story is because it was very slowly built over
Yeah.
time. And I think the rejection that I've experienced and anyone who has followed my path of career has experienced is very character building because
Yeah.
it really forces you to kind of recognize your self-worth independently from what jobs you get and what jobs you don't.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I think, in a lot of ways that rejection had taken a toll at a certain point in my life, but also because, two opposite things can be true at once. It also gave me so much clarity and it gave me so much just a realization that, you know what, my self-worth has nothing to do with all that rejection or all the hardships. Mhm.
If you were like looking back and talk to you back then when you would face those rejection that might be part of the career that you've had. And no matter how much it's part of it, it doesn't mean that it gets easier, that it's pleasant. And it's definitely, I'm sure, as you say, character building, yes, but also to some extent, it would affect anyone for sure, because rejection is not something that's just nice. So, what would you tell yourself with all the wisdom that you have and the self love and the confidence that you have built today? What would you tell yourself back then when you would face those rejection at those moments?
Think just that, and this is something yeah, I feel like you can only learn the long way. So like, it's kind of like telling a younger person it's going to be okay when they're probably like, no, it's not. But I would say that one day you'll realize that who you are is independent from all these things that are happening to you and all these people that are telling you you're not good enough or you're good enough, this and that, that like your core self is yeah, is enough, and that you'll realize that you are you, and that's that.
Yeah. And today, is there anything that you see as a challenge of just being yourself, just as you are?
Yeah, I think you'll always be I think your self-worth and your self-perception will always be challenged, and I experience that in my current work, anyone would, but I will say that at the stage that I am now, I'm able to navigate that much easier and my younger self, and that I'm not letting any challenges affect me personally in this way that when I was younger.
Yeah.
Mm.
And to tie that to what you were saying, as well as Nicole at the beginning, I think you have that in common, that the values that are important to you, that has nothing to do with like the external noise. Would you share something about what your strong personal value are today?
Nick, you want to start?
Gosh, strong personal values. Oh my gosh, have a lot, but I think for me, integrity is a big one. And when I say integrity, that just means for me, it's really about pureness of intention and aligned action to that intention and kind of what you are saying and committing to. I would say I very much appreciate, I mean, when I say directness, I think a lot of times people think direct and they think kind of like abrasive or aggressive. For me, it just means, no pretense, no agenda, just honesty and truth. So that's very core to me. So if there's situations that feel kind of shady or someone has a hidden agenda or
Right.
someone's asking me to have a hidden agenda, which and to be honest, this is when I go back to my corporate career, this is where I've been challenged a lot of how do I navigate this situation. Um, eh, eh, that is something that I cannot be anything other than that integrity, and so that's a big one for me is the pureness of intention, the genuineness of it, and then fulfilling on that when you say to someone that you're going to do something aligned to that. Yeah.
It's beautiful. Thank you. Yeah, I resonate a lot with that. Yeah.
Would be mine. I think individuality is a core value of mine, in not in the sense of like I'm special, I'm independent, but in keeping your core self in no matter what situation. And one of my favorite quotes is "Keep the channel open," and it's by a legendary choreographer
Mhm.
named Martha Graham, and it's part of a much longer sort of speech that she made, but the core sentence is "Keep the channel open," and what she meant by that is, in so many words, everyone has something unique to offer to the world that's singular and only yours, and it's singular and only yours because it's coming through you and not anyone else. And so, what people often do is that they manipulate the channel. They go, well, maybe I should be doing this, or so
Mhm.
and so's doing that, so I should do that. Um, there's a hole in the market, so maybe I should try and fill that. Or they're sort of thinking in a calculating way. When what she is saying is that you need to keep your channel open so that whatever flows through you, know that it's individual and only yours. And so, as an artist, I so connect with that, and as a person, I think that more people should embrace that philosophy. So I would say individuality and authenticity comes with that.
Love that. Thank you. Thanks. I'll remember this, keeping the channel open. And thanks for explaining it, because at first, if I heard that, I wouldn't really understand what that means. But it's really like keeping like the road clear in a way for whatever genuine or whatever almost divine is coming through you, has the space and yeah, like and the free road to express itself through you. And I so much relate to that, that we each have our unique gift. And even two people might do the same job, but they would do it in such a different way that it's going to land so differently based on your own experience, which makes your strength. But you don't know that until you need to use it in your current work. And I love that. And I think, yeah, I love how you both have your own values and expression, but I can also see how they interconnect as well. And that's why you work together. Okay, so that leads perfectly to my next question, because your work is literally about helping women step into their power, their individuality, their authentic self through style. I mean, if I had to sum it up. So could you tell me like how does helping women unlock their personal style directly translate into helping them to gain more self-confidence and stand more in their authentic self and values?
Yeah. A lot of what Deb and I do, we start with the human, the individual, and we help to kind of put words around their essence of who they are, right? Those things that are just, you know, inseparable of them as a being, as a living human being, and help them see the beauty in that, right? So what Deb said earlier, right? The individualism, not everyone needs to be the same. It's actually not great if everyone's the same. So helping people to see their qualities, how they're different, and how that's beautiful and ownable. and then matching that to the outside. So much of what we do is very kind of vibe feeling based. So once we've identified those feelings that are innate to this person, how do we match that to the style principles that will actually put on your body that actually amplifies that even more, right? It's almost like a amplification system when we help people style and bring the tangible in alignment with the intangible. And it is really just, I mean, to Deb and I, it's like magic whenever we work with either, a one-on-one client or with a group of people, it is without fail, the magic happens. And yeah, I forget your question even because I just get so excited about that topic.
That was my question. Look, are really here to like have this conversation with you, but I love whatever answer is coming is was meant to come in, and you answered beautifully, which makes me want to ask you, and I'll hear from you, Debbie, as well. But like from what you're saying, I'd love to hear a bit about, of course, without you sharing the whole process with your clients. Like that's your work, and it's personal. But what would be maybe an experience or a situation that has happened where you could actually see? Because when you talk about the tangible and the intangible, how would you describe what happens in your clients once they have worked with you and that you feel that, okay, they got it, and
Mhm.
they are navigating their own unique style differently from now on? Could
Yeah.
you, yeah.
I mean, I'll first say, like, like the clothes have emotional power, right? People don't, not everyone like really realizes that, but we all react to people when they're wearing something, a certain something. And we are attracted to someone when we feel that they're wearing something that is aligned to them. We
Yeah.
can't pinpoint, we know what it is like tangibly, but for a person who's not in style or in fashion, they still notice that, right?
Right.
And so what we do is we help, we kind of like crystallize, okay, what is that? Why are you reacting to this person wearing this type of clothing? And the truth is clothes have emotional power, like what the shape of them, how they hang on your body, the fabrics, how close or away from the body they are. All those differences and all those nuances affect your perception of that person, or accept your perception of this outfit. And so there's that. And so when we teach that to our clients, whether it's one-on-one or in our workshops, and we're kind of putting words to what they already feel and what they already know, that's when the transformation happens.
Mm.
And they're like, I can see why that really works on me and why this other thing doesn't, even though it works on this other person. So when it's maybe it's that moment of empowerment when they're able to finally go, I get it. Now I can go choose my own or develop and cultivate my own personal style because I know who I am. I can put words to that.
I love that. And what you said is very powerful. That, I mean, all of it, but also the part of you putting words on things they already kind of know or feel, but they haven't gone like the extra step of understanding because you have the knowledge, which most of the people don't, because it's something on its own to understand how the emotional power of clothing. That's so interesting. And I love that because, I mean, my work and your work are similar in the sense that for me, a lot of the answers are already within yourself. The questions, you actually do not have the questions, but you have the answers. And our roles, in a way, are to ask the question that are going to have those answers come out. And to me, that is the true meaning of empowerment. Because if I just tell you, look, this is what you got to do, this is what you're going to wear, and you just follow it, how empowered are you going to feel? And then you always going to turn back to that person for the next thing, while what you do, from what I understand from you, Debbie, is like you get people to understand about themselves so they can have that lens and then go through the transformation. So it's a transformation of perspective, but it doesn't transform the person because, as we're saying from the beginning, the individuality is that thing that's never going to change. Is how do you make the most out of that, out of what's already you? I'm like, just wish more people knew how beautiful inside and out they are, and having all those tools to help them achieve that expression is like so fundamental. And I love your work for allowing people to do that. Yeah. Nicole, you wanted to add something to this.
No, I'm just loving our conversation, but I think like one perspective I have about this personal style and the power of it. Like I really believe that if everyone was this well aligned, we use personal style as a tool, right? Like we've been talking about, it's a tool for knowing yourself, for owning yourself and becoming more confident. I literally feel like if everyone went through this kind of exercise, there would be more peace on earth because I feel like so much conflict in the world is people trying to uh, not having the alignment with themselves, not feeling confident with themselves, projecting onto other people, trying to control their life by controlling other people. And so I went down a rabbit hole in my head recently about this because there's just such beauty whenever we work with people, such beauty that comes out from the human spirit. And I was just thinking, if everyone just took the time to explore that part of themselves, I just feel like the world would be a better place.
So agree. Yes. Yeah, absolutely. It starts with you. And as we say, you cannot like change other people in the sense like what they think and all, but you start with yourself and you inspire people in that sense. Like that's what you do as well. I'm sure a lot of your clients come to you because they feel inspired by you and they're like, "Oh, I want to learn from you how to have that for myself. Not to be like Debbie, not to be exactly like Nicole, but how to integrate more of what you are doing and how you live your life so they can have their own." And I think this is a big difference between just copying out of not having your strong value within. So when you don't know, you try like, oh, it's working for her. I might as well do the same thing. And you do that until you realize that it doesn't change anything. It's not working for me. It makes you feel even worse because like it's working for the others and not for me. And I think what you're doing is really leading people back to their own power and through style. As you were saying, Debbie, earlier, what we see, like definitely we might not know exactly what it is, but we're gonna interact differently with a person depending on how they present themselves. Like this is, even if a lot of people say, no, like what matters is just what's within. We know it's not really true because what's within is going to be expressed, right? Like outside. So it's a combo.
Yeah,
Mhm.
you have an opportunity to express and amplify your inner self outside. And I think that it's symbiotic, that relationship. Yeah.
Thank you. I feel we could talk for hours, but we're not going to do that. But I'll have one last question for you both. It would be about what does confidence allow you to do or to be that you might otherwise hold back from?
Yeah, I mean, I can answer this very personally from a personal perspective. I think, it kind of goes back to everything that Deb and I were talking about earlier of just like, you don't need to be in a box, right? You don't need to be in these kind of defined roles or archetypes of humans, people that are out there that, you need to be like them to be successful. I think for me, the way that that's come through is, like I said, I've had a very corporate upbringing, and a lot of people that think that's your lane. You stay in that. You go, as far as you can go. And I had a moment in my life where I said, there's an aspect of me that's super creative. There's an aspect of me that loves the fashion so much and that pure personal style. And so that confidence and knowing who I am, knowing the things that I love, the things that bring me life led me to really connect with Deb on this, and we create a business out of it. And since then, I have another business too, and so I'm kind of like an entrepreneur and corporate person all in one. And I never would have thought that about myself like 10 years ago that I would do that. Confidence in the values, in the paying attention to the things that make my heart sing, has led me there. And so I think for me, that's opened up a world of possibilities when you have that confidence of who do you want to be and what is your path that you uniquely can take because the things that light you up in life.
Thank
Mm.
you. Thanks. Thanks so much. And what about you, Debbie?
I think for me, it's allowed me to be more fearless because yeah, when in the past when I had less confidence, I would have a habit of self-sabotaging or saying no to opportunities that probably could have turned out really great, but I was afraid of the failure. So I think the biggest change is that it's made me more ambitious and it's made me more fearless. Because I know that no matter what, I'm still myself.
Yeah,
Mhm.
so beautiful. Thank you so much. I can relate to that feeling of yes, I want to, but I'm not gonna because what if I fail? And this is very common. I think this is how a lot of people like might have those opportunities not reach them, or they reach them, but they let them go because they're like, no, I don't think that I can. But having more confidence, like I'm gonna do it. And worst case, well, even if it doesn't work, well, it doesn't work. But you don't want to have. I think in a way, it's also having less regret of what could it be for you and not having those opportunities just pass by out
Mhm.
of not daring, right? Wonderful. Thank you so much to both of you. That was like so absolutely fantastic. Thanks for sharing all those profound insight. And for anyone watching, if this is resonating with you and you want to start your own journey of unlocking your personal style and your confidence, you need to connect with Deb and Nick. So, may I ask you, what's the best place for people to find you and to learn more about dressing the women?
Probably IG, right, Deb?
Yeah.
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 DMs are the best way. We also have a website. You can contact us on our website that way.
All right. So I'll share the links of all of that on the different platform. Thank you again so much. It was really like such a pleasure to chat with you, to learn more also about you. Thank you so much for being with me.
Thank you so
You're
much.
welcome. Thank you.
Enjoy the conversation. Thank
Yeah.
you.